You are tuned into the Literacy Hour with Test Taking Solution and your host, Dr. Kentrell Liddell, MD, MBA. The purpose of this show is to help mitigate health disparities, improving literacy related to health, economics, and education. For all your professional development, professional management, and educational support services needs, contact Test Taking Solution, where we're igniting success. Located at 2104 Thousand Oaks Drive in Jackson, Mississippi. Literacy is knowledge and knowledge is power. Thank you for joining the Literacy Hour. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for tuning into another episode of the Literacy Hour, where you receive relevant, up-to-date, accurate information to enhance literacy. I just believe that when we are better informed, we can make better decisions, right? And when we learn better, we now have the opportunity to do better. I'm your host, Dr. Kentrell Liddell, and we're now in the month of October. September was National Infant Mortality Awareness Month, and I'm not going to let the public health emergency order to raise awareness about infant mortality go by the wayside. No, not around here. Mississippi's infant mortality rate was 9.7 infant deaths per 1,000 live births just last year in 2024. And in the African American community, it was 15 infant deaths per 1,000 live births. 15. Now that's compared to an average national infant mortality rate of 5.6 infant deaths per 1,000 live births. That was reported by the CDC in 2022. They'll be reporting updated numbers later this year, and soon as I know, you'll know. But do you see how far above the average our state's infant mortality rate is for both our general female population and for the African American community? So let's all continue to be a part of the solution by encouraging our women, our pregnant Mississippians to reduce nicotine dependency. Let's not smoke while we're pregnant, and let's reduce exposure to that second and third hand smoke. Why do we do that? And also let's encourage them to put the babies on their backs to sleep in a crib and not in the bed. Let's keep encouraging all of our women that even before they get pregnant, want them to go ahead and establish a medical home. Find a doctor, rent-level provider whom you're comfortable with, and seek prenatal care as soon as you realize you're pregnant and follow the treatment plan, okay? Sometimes a person might have a complicated pregnancy or high-risk pregnancy, and you want to make sure that you're following the doctor's orders. Be careful. Don't risk hurting the baby or yourself once the baby arrives, right? And don't drink alcohol while pregnant. Today is Education Literacy. Now we're in October. And traditionally, October is regarded as Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Yes, thank you. You guys don't waste any time. As soon as I get on the air, feel free to call in. The number to call is 601-714-8378. I would certainly love to hear from you. Again, this is October, and we are in Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Yes. And so I think it's important that we increase our cancer screening rates. I really, really want all of our women to know that we have a health department in all of our counties. We have federally qualified health centers. Also, there are private clinics. And of course, there's my alma mater, the University of Mississippi Medical Center. And so let's get checked, women, because early detection truly does save lives. And I'm mighty glad about it. So we don't have any excuses. We just have to make that appointment. And so it's important that we make it today. A new U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, that's the CDC, study found that more health related social needs a woman has, the less likely she is to get a mammogram. So I understand. We got to get these social needs taken care of. And I know that's easier said than done. But a mammogram is the recommended screening for breast cancer. Social needs such as social isolation and transportation and cost were some of the biggest barriers the study found. Investigators found that recommended mammogram use was almost 20% lower among women ages 50 to 74 who had three or more health related social needs. So, the more social needs a person has, what this study found that was released by the CDC was that the women tend to be less likely to undergo that recommended mammogram in comparison with women who do not have those health related social needs. So you see how important it is to take care of our social needs and to recognize that they are a thing. Yeah, social needs are a thing. We call them social determinants of health. So, those aforementioned socio-ecological factors may explain the disproportionate impact of aggressive breast tumor phenotypes for racial and ethnic minority women. Mhm. There was a study published in JAMA, that's Journal of American Medical Association, um, and in that study, researchers shared with all of us, and I'm glad they did, the greater likelihood of high risk recurrence among Blacks and African American, I'm sorry, not African American, but American Indians, that's what I'm trying to say, and Alaskan Natives, racial and ethnic minorities. We tend to have a more aggressive breast cancer compared to our white sisters. Mm-hmm. And that's important that we know that. So, because what did I say at the top of the show? When we learn better, we now have the opportunity to do better. Hispanic and Pacific Islander women had no significant differences in the likelihood of high risk recurrence scores compared with white women. But we Black women, it's true. We tend to have a disproportionate uh, uh, diagnosis being made of aggressive breast cancers. We'll be talking more about breast cancer in general all month. Cancer survival rates are rising. Yes, we should be very happy about that, but not in medically underserved communities. And we can do something about it. Test Taking Solution, a community-based professional development and educational support services organization, is dedicated to furthering education about this. We're going to share the research with you. Investment efforts are being made in this area of health equity. Workforce development throughout our statewide service area now has the primary focus of what? Increasing our healthcare workforce, especially in rural and also urban areas is important. But we realize that equity is much more than about the efforts that we put forth. Equity is about the outcomes. Are the outcomes meaningful in the lives of people, in the lives of those who reside in our communities, throughout our state, and not just here in Mississippi, but throughout our entire country and our world? Racial and ethnic minorities and historically marginalized residents just don't have the same level of opportunities that other groups have to achieve and to sustain our most optimal health. I said it. There, I said it. We can talk about the recommendations all we want. We can educate about getting a mammogram and getting that breast exam all we want. If people cannot afford to get to the doctor, and then there's this discussion in the air about raising insurance premiums. Really? I do have to sit back and wonder, do we really love ourselves? Do we really love Mississippi? Because if we do, then we would reduce these barriers. I know some of the barriers are put in place by the federal government. So it's not our Mississippi leaders that can reduce some of these things, but we have to address it if we want there to be an even higher cancer survival rate. Health inequity is reflected, you all, in differences in length of life, quality of life, rates of disease, disability, and death, the severity of a disease, and access to treatment. At the end of the day, it all comes down to access. And what gets me is sometimes we don't realize this one truth, and that is that women play a central role in the family. It's true. Not only in the families, but in communities. Our health, that's the health of women, affects more than just us. It has a great impact on the broader society. And studies, I'm not just saying it now, you know I don't like talking out of the side of my neck, but you can access the CDC's website yourself. Check it out. Vital Signs is something I enjoy reading. It's a publication that they make available to all of us. But studies show that healthier women and their children contribute to a more productive and better educated society. Therefore, I'm just proposing that we keep on teaching, that we keep on sharing, that we keep on becoming better educated. And that's why I'm excited and thankful for our Mississippi State Department of Health, Mississippi Breast and Cervical Cancer Early Detection Program, BCCP, because they are indeed focused on reducing barriers. Yeah. Whenever our State Department of Health applies for a grant from the CDC and are awarded the Breast and Cervical Cancer Early Detection Program grant, they get it out to community partners, healthcare providers, to help improve access to mammograms, screening mammograms, and breast exams. You want to learn more about that program? You can give us a call at Test Taking Solution, 601-714-8378. You can also call the health department, and they'll be happy to tell you all about it. I'm going to make sure that our number is up. So for those of you who are listening to our live stream on YouTube, you should see that we have it up. Thank you. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram. The handle is right there, TT Solution, LLC. Also, our YouTube station is the Test Taking Solution Foundation. And as always, I invite you to visit our website, ttsfoundation.org. You go there and hit up the event calendar. You can keep up with what's going on. Also, subscribe to our newsletter, and you'll definitely be in the know. We got a lot going on at Test Taking Solution. We're making a lot of plans for 2026, and we're trusting God to order our steps. I want to take this opportunity and tell, well, not even tell, but beg. Beg those of you who are not registered to vote to do so. We got some elections coming up in November, and here we are in October. And so I just want to encourage you. Please get out and vote. You won't miss that right until you don't have it. Okay. So, just wanted to share a few things with you about breast cancer awareness and just continue to help raise awareness, because that is just one of the cancers that we have really been seeing some great results of education efforts of increasing cancer screening rates type projects. And I just don't want us to lose the momentum, you all. Don't want us to lose the momentum. They say that between 2017 and 2021, here in the state of Mississippi, we had 11,539 female breast cancers. 11,539. And 712 cervical cancers were diagnosed. So that 5-year average data, again, was released by the CDC. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. I know there's not a P on the end of it, but that's the whole name of the CDC, the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And so, yeah, we get most of our data from them. But again, I have to give kudos to our State Department of Health, because they keep up with the numbers. And in our state, along with other states, is the one who provides that information to the CDC in the first place. What does that mean? We know our numbers, and I just pray all the time that Dr. Etney has the team around him focused on these various chronic health conditions who can help keep us informed. Put out some dashboards and show us where the hot spots are so that we can help our own communities. Wouldn't you like to know whether or not your community has a higher likelihood of a certain infectious disease? Wouldn't you like to know whether the women in your community are more likely to be diagnosed with breast cancer and cervical cancer? I know I would. So we can continue to spout out these stats and numbers all we want, and we're ending up in the same place, partially because it's not going to be just the medical community that makes the difference, but it's going to take communities caring about their communities. Yep. That includes picking up paper as well, litter in the communities. That includes, neighborhood watches. People looking out for one another. Communities working together. According to the National Cancer Institute, Mississippi breast cancer incidence rate, 124.6 per 100,000 women. So the incidence of breast cancer is lower than that of the incidence of other women in the United States. That's 129.8 for every 100,000 women. So not that much lower, but thank God we're lower in something. That's breast cancer incidence. The likelihood of having breast cancer as a diagnosis. But get this, even though our women have a slightly less likelihood of being diagnosed with breast cancer, when we are diagnosed here in Mississippi, our state's age-adjusted breast cancer mortality rate is the highest mortality rate of any state in our country. 23.4 deaths per 100,000 women. diagnosed with breast cancer. That's our state's breast cancer mortality rate for the period 2018-2022. Okay. And the United States mortality rate is 19.3. I can only share the data that's been published and shared with us, you all. But it's good to know. But I wish I could know real time because I deal better in real time. Don't you? It's good to be able to analyze statistics and look at trends. We need to know that from 2018 to 2022, our state has the highest mortality rate of any state in the country. But what is it in 2025? What was it in 2024? Let me tell you who knows. The Mississippi State Department of Health. But I'm sorry, I can't find it published anywhere. So all I'm saying is, as this information becomes available, it's going to be so important that we are shared, we are provided the data so that we then can do even more in our own individual communities to help support whatever efforts our State Department of Health might have going on. That's how I think we're going to be able to tackle all of these chronic health conditions. We have to know the information. The mortality rate for women who reside in Hinds County during the same time period was even higher at 22.6. So not only do we have the highest mortality rate as a state, but at least I was able to level down by using various drop downs in the data that the CDC provided us to get to the county level. Thank you, CDC. But again, the CDC never would have known that had our own Mississippi State Department of Health not provided that information to them. So our leaders know the answers. Now that 22.6 in Hinds County, I must say, was lower than it was last reported. It was 23.4 per 100,000 women. What am I saying? We are getting better at screening for and diagnosing breast cancer, but we are still dying at a higher rate than other women in other states across our country. That's what I'm saying. Furthermore, among all Mississippi women diagnosed with breast cancer, here it comes, African American women had an even higher age-adjusted mortality rate. You ready for the statistic? 30.4 per 100,000. 30.4 deaths for every 100,000 women who are diagnosed with breast cancer. And our white counterparts, their rate is 20.1. There's something wrong. Why is it that our white women have a much less age-adjusted mortality rate from breast cancer than Black women? Black women, 30.4 in the state of Mississippi. Aren't we tired of being shocked by these appalling rates and numbers? I told you about the infant mortality rate at the top of the hour. I know it's not health literacy, it's education literacy day, but you know what? We're getting educated. We must remain educated. We must be educated because it's one of the ways we're going to address these issues. Education is of paramount importance. We have the highest infant mortality rate 15 infant deaths per 1,000 live births. And now, as you are finding out, if you didn't know already, we have the highest breast cancer mortality rate, 30.4 per 100,000. Can the Black woman catch a break? Even more appalling is that the diagnosis of breast cancer in or advancing to the late stages is much higher in African American women. When Black women are diagnosed, the breast cancer tends to be an advanced late stage. That is why I'm raising the alarm here in October alongside everyone else who is stressing the importance of early detection. Just get the mammogram done. Just get the breast exam done, the pelvic exam. Let's pick up cervical cancers. Women, do the breast exam in the shower. If you don't know how to do it, please hit up a health fair. I guarantee you'll be someone there at a health fair who will tell you how to do it. Or, better yet, establish a medical home. Establish a medical home. I'm so proud of our federally qualified health centers. Jackson Hines Comprehensive Health Center, Central Mississippi Health Services. We got them right here in Hines County. And FQHCs overall reported an increase in cancer screenings in 2021. We don't just have FQHCs in Hines County. We got them all over our state. I want you to find the nearest one, the one nearest you. I want you to, if you can't find an FQHC, find a health department. And don't be afraid. Go on in and let them schedule that mammogram. Please. The sooner we detect the cancer, the more likely you are to live longer. Let me put it that way. Let me just break it down that way. Before I leave this discussion about breast cancer, because it's so important, as are all of the health conditions that our Mississippians have to deal with on a day-to-day basis, but it's October. And it's set aside to help raise awareness about breast cancer, and that's why I'm talking about it. I'm going to be talking about it all month. So just come on back. Tune back into the Literacy Hour. Or you can replay this episode, share it with others. It's on YouTube. Archived right there on our Test Taking Solution Foundations channel. But akin to the Mississippi breast cancer mortality rate, African American women also have a higher age-adjusted cervical cancer mortality rate. 4.2 per 100,000. That's 4.2 deaths per 100,000, compared to white women, which is 3.3 per 100,000. Among all the Mississippi women diagnosed with cervical cancer, African American women experience higher rates of our diagnosis being made in or near the late stage. You see, why is that? Why are we being diagnosed in the late stages? Partly because we won't go to the doctor and request that mammogram, request that breast and cervical cancer. That cervical exam. But I could have said cervical cancer because that's why we're doing it. We're doing it to screen for cervical cancer. That's why we do the PAP test. It used to be a PAP smear back in the day, but today is a PAP test. The only thing constant is change. And we're going to make sure that we do the very best we can during the Literacy Hour to keep you abreast. So, follow us. Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. The call-in number is 601-714-8378. At Test Taking Solution, we encourage our scholars to expand their vocabulary. So this morning on the Literacy Hour, as we do every first Tuesday, Education Literacy Tuesday, we define a word. Last time we talked about abominate, to dislike strongly and to regard with intense aversion. Abominate. And we said a good way to remember that is hate. Hate. You can kind of use that to help you think about the definition of abominate. I abominate bombs. I strongly dislike bombs. A bomb hate. I hate a bomb. So abominate. All right. Well, that was last First Tuesday. This First Tuesday, our word of the day is a bridge. A bridge. Just like a bridge over troubled waters, right? A bridge. A, B as in boy. R-I-D-G-E. A bridge. It means to shorten it up, to condense, to diminish, to curtail. Think about a bridge. An abridged bridge, right? A shortened bridge. A bridge. If you don't want to read an entire newspaper to learn the latest daily news, there are clipping services that will abridge the news stories for you. Abridge, shorten up, condense. I need you to abridge that. Abridge. An abridged dictionary is one that has been shortened. Abridge. And then once you know the word abridge, you then will have a greater likelihood of understanding, comprehending what you read when you see the word abridgment. Abridgment. We saw an abridgment of the movie Gone with the Wind on TV last night. It only lasted 2 hours, whereas the original movie lasted 4. This version of the movie was abridged. Abridge. To shorten, to condense. It's a verb. And that's an action word. Stay tuned to the Literacy Hour. Every first Tuesday, we're going to help expand our vocabulary. And so that's our word for today. You might hear it again before we end the show today, but the word is abridge. Practice may not make us perfect, but it does make us better. So when you learn a new word, practice using it. You might want to use the word abridge today. Literacy is knowledge and knowledge is power. I want to thank you so much again for listening to the Literacy Hour. I came across this article that confirmed what I've been saying all along, and that is that college is not for everyone. Yes, I said it. I shared with you last first Tuesday during our education literacy episode of the Literacy Hour that Berkshire Hathaway CEO Warren Buffett doesn't care where you went to school. Said that you don't need to attend college to be a great CEO. That's what he said. And then Amazon Web Services CEO backed it up independently. I mean, he in a totally different scenario. He said, I told my own teenager to develop this number one most important skill to succeed in this AI age. You want to know what it is? Contrary to popular belief, Matt German, the Amazon Web Services CEO, said you won't need a machine learning degree or other highly technical skills to succeed in the near future. He said this a month ago. It's out there. You can find it too. The Amazon Web Services CEO and what he told his teenage son. As more artificial intelligence powered tools get integrated into our workplace, employers will prioritize hiring workers with what? Soft skills, like creativity and adaptability. This man's advice to his own child. This man, who is the CEO of Amazon Web Services, told his own child, who is a rising high school senior, by the way, develop your critical thinking skills. And I could not have said it better myself. If you spend any time at Test Taking Solution, you will probably hear me say several times a day to our scholars, and they'll say it to themselves and to each other, critically think. Think about that math word problem. Think about that science issue. Think about what you just read. Critically think. And we don't just say it, we help to develop that skill set. That's what doctors are. Doctors are critical thinkers. We were trained to do it. We know how to do it. And so I'm overjoyed. I mean, yeah, I wish I was practicing medicine right now, today, and every day. I love medicine. I absolutely love it. I breathe. I love medicine. Yes, I do. I knew it like the back of my hand because I learned it like that. I made sure of it. I thought I would end up being the only doctor in a country town like the town I grew up in, Macon, Mississippi, and Dr. Larry was our doctor. All of us saw the same doctor. And so I thought that life would allow me to one day see him into a great retirement. While we kept in touch, and he was a wonderful supporter during my medical school days, Dr. Larry would send me a note to Iowa. Beautiful notes. That's just not what God had in the cards for me. And so I help to develop others while I can to get to medical school and become doctors, great critical thinkers. And in the meantime, I also continue to develop our youth. And boy, are they doing well. Not just because of me, but because of the team I've been able to assemble. The CEO of Amazon Web Services told his own high school rising senior to develop your critical thinking skills. That's what I need you to do. I need you to learn how to think. I need you to focus. I need you to think. Now, I will say, in order to be able to critically think, you got to know some stuff. You must have the content. You must study to show thyself approved. You can't just get up and say, okay, I'm going to be a critical thinker and I'm going to end up being the best in the world at doing it. You can't do it if you don't know anything. You must first learn the information in order to be able to apply it to various situations, across industries, across scenarios. Be able to critically think. We don't have much money, but we've survived since 2020. All I's dotted, all T's crossed. Why? Because you have a critical thinker at the helm. So we must know a little something, huh? Yep. Now give me $1 million and watch. Sit back and watch. Don't give it to me. Give it to the foundation. You're able to donate any amount, testtakingsolutionfoundation.org. All of our ways of donating is right there on our homepage. We're making a difference in lives. And I'm mighty, mighty, mighty glad about it. Otherwise, I would lose my mind during this time of not practicing medicine. I would lose my absolute mind if I was not staying busy. I think that Mr. German is on the right track with what he told his high school senior, and I'm going to continue to do the same thing. I'm going to keep telling students, listen, it doesn't matter where you go to college. We don't care. I don't care. I don't care. If you went to Harvard, I don't care. If you went to East Mississippi Community College, big shout out to EMCC, awesome school. I don't care if you went to my alma mater, Tougaloo College, the best, yes, or the I love, Jackson State University, or My alma mater as well, that great old Mississippi State. I don't care where you went to school. Because I have met a lot of folks who went to school and got some degrees. And they don't know. Let me get off that. You know some too. So some stuff ain't even worth the paper that is written on. I want to know, can you critically think? I want to know, do you care? Because folks don't care about how much you know. They care about how much you care. They don't listen. Do you care enough to continue to learn? Because we'll never know everything. I don't want to know everything. I'm so glad my life is in the hands of God. I'm so glad he knows what's around the corner. And I'm so glad he decided not to tell me. We just take it day by day and trust him. Keep getting up. Keep showing up. Keep doing your very, very best in school, young people. You need help? Tell your parents. Your parents don't care? Tell an adult who does care. Yeah, I know it's some parents that don't care. Been there, done that. I know. Some of you don't give a darn about how your children are doing. You rather go out to the club and do what you do. You rather drink alcohol, smoke, dope, and other stuff rather than take care of the life that you brought into this world. Them children didn't ask to come here. And you got the nerve to mistreat them. The nerve of people. So at least give the child a fighting chance. Children, listen to me, because I wish I had known some things way back when I was a child. If you're with some folks that don't care about you, that abuse you physically abuse you. Now, verbal abuse, well, now, hey, I'm just saying. I don't hope that it goes overboard, but you going to get taught that. That's just the bottom line. Call who you want to call. Dial 911 as many times as you want to. If you're in my house, you're going to get taught that. Sit down. But physical abuse, somebody beating you with extension cords and wire hangers and this and that, unacceptable. You find the local law enforcement, you find somebody to tell. You get to school, you show the counselor those whelps, and you talk to somebody. You don't have to suffer in silence. I'm talking to the youth because the youth, you told me that you listen to the Literacy Hour, and I'm mighty glad about it. Keep listening, because I'm going to share things with you as I'm sharing things with my fellow adults. Now to the fellow adults, stop abusing the children. Life is hard enough, and you know it as an adult. Let's let the children have a life to be a child. Keep them out of your business, grown folks' business. You shouldn't be your child's friend. I'm on a soapbox this morning because I think that's why we got a lot of violent crime and stuff going on. I think somebody forgot to be a parent. Caller, you're on the air. What's your question or comment this morning?
Good morning, Dr. Liddell. How are you?
I'm doing well, thank you.
Great. This is Sandra. I am calling just to give you an update. Although Messiah has not been with you lately, I wanted to give you some good news, share some good news with you. Messiah is Mr. Sixth Grade at People's Middle School.
Woo!
You haven't had the opportunity to catch up with him, but he is Mr. Sixth Grade at People's Middle School. And their game was postponed due to the weather on yesterday. So as soon as they rescheduled for Mr. Messiah to have his program, then I will make sure that you are aware. But I just wanted to give you that tidbit, and I want you to know that we really appreciate you for the time that Messiah got to spend with you.
I love that update. Thank you so much. And
You're
if I
welcome.
were a wealthy woman and I had buses and vans, don't you know Mr. Messiah would still be with us?
Yes, ma'am. Trust me, we're going to get it worked out. We're going to get it worked out.
I know that.
I love the fact that he improved so much in just a short period of time.
I
know that if he had much more time, he would improve even much more.
Oh, yes, ma'am. Absolutely. We have kids who start with us in sixth grade, and man, we watch them graduate from high school, valedictorian, salutatorian. I mean, duh, it's not rocket science. And so
Well,
we
that is
love it.
definitely his dream. That's what he's been saying since he was about 7 or 8. He was going to be valedictorian or salutatorian. So I mean, he's speaking it into existence at a very early age. So I'm going to sit back and watch him make his way.
Thank you so much. Thank you for
You're
calling in
welcome.
today.
You're welcome. Have a
Wow. You know what? That's an example of an auntie who cares. So let me get back on my adults for a minute. I'm just going to sit there on that soapbox for just one more minute because listen, mama and daddy, if you don't care, guess what? And that's not to say that this young man's mom and dad don't care. They are amazing. They just have a great aunt who also lends a helping hand. She gets in where she fits in. She makes it happen when they can't, when they're too busy, when they have something else to do. We can all do that. We can all do the little bit we can with the little bit we have while we have time. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. You keep doing well, I'm not going to say that. If you know you need to change, change. Anyway, the CEO of Amazon Web Services told his high school senior, going to college, it's about building your critical thinking. All of that college experience, the class work, the pledging in the fraternities and sororities, the playing sports, all of that. It's about developing the skills of critical thinking. And it's really about how do you become a better critical thinker. He said in some ways, I think that's actually going to be the most important skill going forward. That's what he said. I can't make it up. I agree with them. So I thank you for tuning into the Literacy Hour and being enlightened by some of the things that I care about and think about. It's just important that we encourage our youth to improve their critical thinking skills in this AI, artificial intelligence era. It's not going away. Americans are losing faith that hard work leads to economic gains. That's another relevant story. Wall Street Journal, one of my favorite publications, they did a poll and they found that the share of people who say they have a good chance of improving their standard of living fell to 25%, just 25%. They haven't had that low of a rate since 1987. So why is it that people feel that hard work is not getting them anywhere? Probably because it's not. Nearly 70% of people said they believe the American dream that if you work hard, you will get ahead no longer holds true. And for a lot of people, it never did. We African Americans, I said it because I know I'm African American, been there, done that. I know how hard you must work to get that medical degree, to get through residency. I know how much harder we have to work than other folks. Nearly 70% of other people said it, not just Dr. Liddell. The poll found that folks said the American dream is elusive. I can work as hard as I want and still not get ahead. Wow. Again, that was published in the Wall Street Journal. Just thought I'd share it with you. Want to talk very briefly about these private school vouchers. Yeah, I read something recently. I think it had to be last month. Well, no, we're in a new month now, October. So this was published in August. Yeah, in August, and it was a Clarion Ledger article. Yeah, I love to read. Absolutely love reading. When I retire, you'll be able to find me somewhere curled up with a book after I get out of my pool, that is. But anyway, Mississippi can opt in to new private school voucher program. A private school voucher program. Boy, I've heard it all. A new national school voucher program offers tax credits for private school donations, but Mississippi must opt in. The program raises concerns about diverting public funds to private schools, potentially violating the state constitution. While proponents argue for increased school choice, opponents worry about the negative impacts on public school funding and accountability. The program's effectiveness and impact on Mississippi's education system remain uncertain. So, wait a minute now. Somebody has passed a national school voucher program that may provide tax credits for Mississippi families to send their children to private school. Yeah, it was part of the One Big Beautiful Bill Act signed into law by President Donald Trump on the 4th of July. The bill narrowly passed through Congress the day before. You know, it was like a 218 to 214 vote. They had months of debate about it, but it passed. A national school voucher program. And under that program, individuals receive a dollar for dollar tax credit for donations made to nonprofit organizations that award scholarships to private schools. Boy, some people will find a way, won't they? My goodness. Some people view the program as an indirect way of putting federal dollars into private school. Wow. I'm going to leave that topic right there for another day, because I want my day to be beautiful today. I feel good this morning, and it's just some things that you just you can't debate by yourself. You almost need a whole panel discussion to talk about that. We need some experts on a panel to look at this thing. And I'm interested in the outcomes. That I'm interested in what all this leads to. Right? A significant new chapter in college athletics has officially arrived. You know, the House versus NCAA settlement ushers in transformative changes around how student athletes are supported. This marks an opportunity for Mississippi State and other institutions to lead with purpose, integrity, and innovation. We got a new era upon us, you all. Colleges and universities are investing in our student athletes like never before. So here's what's changing. Now, beginning, starting now, schools in the SEC, the Big 10, the Big 12, and the ACC may directly share up to approximately $20.5 million annually with student athletes, with this number expected to grow approximately 4% annually. Love it. These student athletes, they need to get paid. That's right. Not all of them are going to make it to the pros, but yet they're helping colleges and universities to raise a significant amount of revenue off of their backs, off of their legs, their arms, their brains, their everything that has the potential to get injured out there on that gridiron, on the basketball court, on the tennis court, on the soccer field. All the student athletes. The only thing I would do differently is I would add the band to that. I was a band drum major, and I know just how impactful pounding that concrete can be, pounding that pavement, blowing in those instruments for hours straight, walking, marching, sweating. I just wish they had the band to it. Right? So this approximate $20.5 million investment is referred to as revenue share. So they're revenue sharing. That's a new term, student athletes. I want you to be aware, and your parents as well, that there's something now called revenue share. And that $20.5 million is a strict cap. Institutions may not exceed this amount without facing some serious penalties. Student athletes may still pursue those third-party NIL, that's their name, image, and likeness. Yeah. They have NIL deals now, in addition to any possible revenue sharing. So their NIL deals is in addition to that revenue sharing that the schools are doing. And they're going to be doing a lot of it, I'm sure, to attract the best athletes. You will hear our team referring to this as third-party NIL or third-party deals. There are legitimate deals that student athletes can seek with businesses, and businesses can seek with student athletes. Yeah, perhaps as influencers. hmm A new independent enforcement agency called the College Sports Commission is going to oversee the revenue sharing, the third party deals, the NIL compliance. You may hear about a system called NIL Go. And this is a new monitoring system created to review and determine the approval of all the third party deals with a value of $600 or more to ensure that they're legitimate in a fair and consistent way. A lot going on in education. And that's why we focus on it during this education literacy first Tuesday here on the Literacy Hour. Our after school program is going strong. Children are learning. You just heard from one parent, one family member of one of our scholars, and she shared some great news. I'm not shocked though. He loves to learn. He just had to learn how to learn. And I'm glad he was able to spend time with us, and he's on his way. All right. Well, education news still abounds. And in the little time I have left, I want to share it with you. 12th grade math and reading scores in the United States hit an all new low. And that happened last month. The declines are even worse than before the pandemic. So it's not Dr. Liddell saying this. Look here, the stats are in. They take tests, and folks look at the grades. And all across our state and across this country, 12th grade math and reading scores are at an all-time low. What's going on? What's going on? American high school senior scores on major math and reading tests fell to their lowest levels on record, according to the U.S. Education Department. There's something wrong. When a large portion of our students cannot reach at least a basic level of performance, not even proficiency. So like I said, we need to know where these hot spots are, exactly which counties, exactly which school districts. And then we need to investigate, find out what's going on in these particular school districts. For me, I just think it's easy. But I've always said, to solve any problem, you need three things. You got to have prayer. You got to pray about it, because we're not ultimately in control of anything. And then you got to have the experts, the right experts at the table to do what I just did. Figure out what in the heck is going on. Get to the bottom of it. And they're telling me that the girls' scores on average dropped faster than the boys' scores. What's going on? You know, I know what part of it is. Electronics, mobile devices, peer pressure. We can go on and on. We don't have time. The third thing we need, adequate funding. You can come up with the best ideas in the world. Some of our people have some of the best business ideas in the world. They cannot get a bank loan to get it off the ground. They cannot find the capital to get it off the ground. If you don't have the money, your good idea will rot right over there on the tree. It doesn't go anywhere. So the three things that you must have in order to solve these problems, you must pray. You got to have some prayer warriors on it. You must have experts at the table, the right ones. You don't need 50. You don't need a whole lot of folks. Just the right experts, and particularly some who have lived experience, some who have been there, done that. You know, you want to solve the gang crime, you need some gangs on the team. I'm just saying, you can't sit somewhere from an ivory tower and think you know everything that's going on down in the village. You can't do that. That's stupid. That's crazy. You must have some folks with some lived experience on the team. But you want to talk about folks and you want to shut us out. You want to shut us up and shut us down. And man, come on, we can help. And then finally, you need the funding. Well, you know, I'm about to get off the air now, so you better talk fast. Go.
Yeah, the problem with the education in Mississippi, a person that's from out of town that's been in Mississippi for a year, they say that the people in Mississippi do not take education as a priority. That Mississippians are worried about everything else but education, and that's the problem with the educational. We're worried about it. We're about that. Nobody really cares nothing about education in Mississippi. To be honest, and I know why. The reason why, because you don't really need to be highly educated to even survive in Mississippi at all.
Boy, that's a topic for another day. I sure wish you had called in earlier. Listen, that's all the time I have, man. And I really, listen, guys, I get off the air at 8 a.m. Y'all want to talk, call in beforehand. Let's have that conversation. I like what this man was saying. He said, hey, we're down because we don't care. And then he was getting ready to list out and support his position. I love it when people do that. So let's continue the conversation. Next Tuesday is Health Literacy. Join me right back here at that time. Until then, have a great rest of your day.
For the past 1 hour, you have been listening to the Literacy Hour with Test Taking Solution and your host, Dr. Kentrell Liddell, MD, MBA. We are located at 2104 Thousand Oaks Drive in Jackson, Mississippi. Visit us on the web at www.testtakingsolution.com. Join us each Tuesday from 7 to 8 a.m. for another life-changing conversation here on our podcast live stream at affiliate stations. For the past